All of you are responsible for this. And I hope you're proud. Because finally we have more content to talk about. So, as it happens to be, we are only a little bit more than 3 months away from Arcane Season 2. And so, the teaser started to ramp up. And since we have recently gone through a new wave of anime expos and other kinds of expos, it made sense for Netflix to release a new teaser for Arcane. But this time it is a short clip from the series. It is not an edited trailer. Now, some of you may remember that this is exactly what Netflix did with the first season too. There, besides the first iconic trailer, we also got a long unedited clip of Jinx going into the arcade. That's where it was first teased that her real name is Powder. In comparison, however, if we have a look at the clip we got now, its action is a lot closer to the ground. Will this stop us from covering it? Well, not really. Will we have to scoop up the bottom of the barrel while covering it? Well, not really. And that is because, while at first glance it may seem like there is not much happening here, in reality this false narrative is no match for over-analytical insanity. Also, Riot is releasing some other things together with this, and we'll talk about that too. So without further ado, let's have a look at what is happening here. As you can see, all of this opens with a shot of the University of Piltover. This is a different building from the Council of Piltover, which is why this building is intact. This is not the one that was destroyed by Jinx. And as you can see, around the middle of the building you have the statues of the most famous professors of the university, with Heimerdinger being on the far right, with what seems to be Stanwyck Padidley right next to him. Now, how do we know this is Stanwyck Padidley? Well, we saw him in Arcane Season 1.
Stanwyck Padidley.
This is the scene where Heimerdinger explained that it was his friend, who made a lot of things blow up. And still he became a renowned professor for his sacrifices to science. And that is also the same scene where Heimerdinger confirmed that Piltover is only 200 years old. Lastly, we should mention that Stanwyck Padidley was a very important character in League's lore. I'm saying was because this was retconned many years ago. Originally, this was the guy who stole Blitzcrank from Victor and presented him as his own creation. So here, since Stanwyck is gone in the new universe, I'm not sure what's gonna happen to Blitzcrank in Arcane. But he will likely get a new origin story. See, all of this just came out from the opening frame. I told you we are dealing with insanity here. After this, the scene cuts to a warden walking through the halls of the university. If this place seems familiar to you, this should be where Jace and Victor had their lab. This is where they stored their Hextech gem, and this is where they were doing all of their crazy experiments. Also, this hall is very similar to the one scene where they were awkwardly looking for their keys. We all remember that one, right? I'm not the only one insane here, right? And as you can see, the warden is holding a tube, which is very likely a rolled up message. And that might be teasing the purpose of this entire scene. We can see that the warden is trying to deliver it somewhere. And as the camera goes down below, our heroes hop into action. With the first one being none other than Heimerdinger, with his very yordleish animations. And of course, he is very closely followed by Echo. Now immediately this scene starts to get clever with its music, because we get the suspenseful beats of the cymbals, but the leading instrument is still the classical piano, which has always been used for Piltover themes. With that said, I have to mention that this does not sound like the leitmotif that was used for Heimerdinger and the University in Season 1. You can hear a piece of it here.
Stanwyck Padidley.
Instead, this could be a new theme for Heimerdinger and Echo. So, let's now dive into that character dynamic. First of all, we can see Heimerdinger holding a mask of the Fireflies. That is the Zonaite group that Echo is part of. And interestingly enough, that mask is quite close to one of those found in Benzo's shop, although it was obviously altered. Anyway, this means that this isn't just a cooperation between Heimerdinger and Echo. No, this seems like Heimerdinger just joined the Fireflies. Or at least he wants to join them, which is why he is so excited that he even crafted his own mask using sheets of paper. Now, some of you may remember that this partnership was originally teased at the end of Season 1. For a few seconds, it showed how Heimerdinger joined Echo and they talked about some inventions. Now, of course, using League of Legends, we know that they were likely talking about the Z Drive, the invention that allows Echo to go 10 seconds back in time. And if all the timelines stay consistent, they should be able to make that invention by the end of Season 2. So that is why you should be ready to see a lot of Heimerdinger and Echo together. Anyway, continuing on, as the two sneak around, Echo eventually questions Heimerdinger. Since he is one of the heads of the university, he was confused as to why they were sneaking around. Heimerdinger should essentially own that place. And well, that is a good question, because we know that Heimerdinger was kicked out of the council, but we don't really know how much that is tied to the university itself. But also, it is possible that Echo simply doesn't know that Heimerdinger was kicked out in the first place. And that is most likely what is happening here, because given how good Arcane is at paying attention to details, this is why Heimerdinger's reaction is what it is. You can see the hesitation of whether he should answer, as well as the PTSD of the voting flashing in front of his eyes. Regardless, Echo follows him further, so Heimerdinger then uses his made-up hand signs, just so he can feel like a secret agent of the Fireflies, after which he gives us his new iconic line: "The Brambleback has left the jungle." Now, any League player will know the jungle, and they will know the Brambleback. That's the joke! But really, this line likely does have a meaning. By Brambleback, he's likely talking about the Warden, which we have seen at the very beginning of the teaser. And by jungle, he is likely talking about the halls of the university. So really, he's just trying to say that the Warden has walked past them. And so, when they look up at the very end, it could mean that the two are trying to intercept the message he was carrying. Which gives us the point for the entire teaser, and that is also where the teaser ends. Which would also make you think, well, that's the end of the video. Well, you are wrong. There are two more things around Arcane that we should mention here. First of all, together with this teaser, Wild Rift is also pushing for a bit more Arcane-ish patch. Over there, Summoner's Rift got a bit of an update, and now if you kill Baron, he drops the T-Hex, which you transform into, which also by all means should be an invention of Heimerdinger. And yes, there are also a bunch of other inventions there. So it's simply cool to see that Arcane is ramping up all the tie-ins. Other than that, Riot is also selling some interesting items tied to Arcane. First of all, we get the art and making of Arcane, which, taking notes from Ubisoft, has 3 different versions. The basic one, which really just has the book which shows us the never-before-seen art, as well as some notes on how Arcane was made. Then the Portfolio Edition, which comes with the same book, except now it's green, some art prints, and 1 random tarot card that was designed by Fortiche. And I believe these could be the ones that were originally shown in the show. I mean, one of those was kinda teasing Victor's future. And yes, you also get a vinyl LP with 22 tracks from Arcane. Honestly, that's the one I would be aiming for. And lastly, there is also the Artifact Edition. This one has a blue version of the book, 3 extra art prints, which are blueprints, all 4 tarot cards, and the same vinyl LP, except now it is pink. But also you get 2 hand-painted statues that act as book stoppers. And honestly, this looks great, except the downside is that it is $550. But don't worry, we are not done yet. Because besides this, Arcane is also getting its own collector's edition. It has the first season on Blu-ray and 4K UHD, both of which should have their own steel cover, as well as 3 hours of bonus features. I'm not allowed to make videos on these, am I? You also get 6 art cards, which are Jinx's drawings, an amazing set of dice, and a fabric version of Piltover's map. Also, there is a double-sided poster. Honestly, I really like this collector's edition more simply because how well executed the theme is. But there you have it, the latest news from Arcane. You thought it was just 2 buddies sneaking around, which is exactly what it was. And we still ended up with a video that is way too long for what it is. Lastly, we could also mention that there was a poster that surfaced on the internet. We really don't know how credible it actually is, but it did show Mel among all the heroes. So, naturally, given it's the internet, a civil war broke out of theories whether Mel survives or not.